apologize. I might have, yeah, free this. I might have looked disrespectful. I didn't mean to look disrespectful during your talk that I was constantly looking down at the phone. The reason is that John Kerry is in the middle of a press conference in Geneva right now, after 1 o'clock in the morning Geneva time, trying to explain why they didn't reach a deal. And so I wanted to give people here the up-to-date information. David, see if it's still online. It hasn't updated in 5 minutes. So I'm sorry, I'm out of date by 5 more minutes now. But I just want to give you the latest developments. Okay. So basically, Israel has been saved by the French. Dieu merci. Thank God. Our derriere has been saved. There were talks going on for 2 days there in Geneva, where you had the foreign ministers of Iran, European Union, United States, Russia, and France. And our friend there was Laurent Fabius. And apparently, he's been anti-Iran for a very long time. When he was Prime Minister of France, which was a while ago, he was indicted in a scandal in which France sold HIV-tainted blood to Iran. And the diplomats that are involved in the foreign ministry now, there's still the same people appointed by Sarkozy, who also is very anti-Iran and haven't been replaced yet. They're still in their term. And so Fabius said today, in the last hour after the talks ended, he said to the French media that the deal must be serious and credible. Iran made progress, but not enough. And that specifically, the problem is on 2 things. Number 1 is the plutonium reactor that Lev was talking about in Iraq, A-R-A-K. That the Iranians actually were having trouble with the reactor. And so when they were offering in these talks that they would agree that they would work on the reactor but not activate it for 6 months, they weren't offering anything because they'd already delayed when they were planning on activating it because of the technical difficulties that they were having. And once they activate it, destroying it causes huge environmental damage. And so that's why the talks now are so urgent. The other thing was that the French were saying that Iran can't keep any of the 20% enriched uranium. And the Iranians were saying, okay, we'll freeze the 20% enriched uranium. We won't make more, but we won't let you take it away. Now, the Iranians actually haven't gotten to the point where they have more uranium at 20% since last September, 13 months ago. Why? Because that was when Netanyahu drew the red line at the UN with the funny picture of the bomb, remember? You know, it looked like it was inspired by the great Italian artist Wale Coyote. And the world made fun of it at the time. But the Iranians took it very seriously. Whenever they got to the point where they were almost crossing it, they converted some of the 20% uranium into uranium oxide that can be reconstituted into a bomb, but it's very complicated and expensive. And so they have not crossed that red line and weren't planning on it. And so basically the 2 things that they were offering the world that some of the P5+1 were taking as a great deal was nothing and nothing. And that's why Netanyahu called it the deal of the century for Iran yesterday. And that's why he called it not only a bad deal, but a very bad deal, just to use Kerry's words, that when Kerry said that no deal was better than a bad deal. Other things to get you caught up on. So Kerry at his press conference said the goal remains preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. He said significant progress was made in the talks and the gaps have been narrowed. When he was asked about Israeli and Saudi opposition, and I like the fact that the questioner mentioned Israel and Saudi Arabia together, as if we're like buddies now. He said, picture Kerry saying it, like with the harumph. Every day with no deal, the enrichment continues. And at the same time, he said, we're cooperating with the French, meaning if Israel is happy with the French, they should be happy with him too. And the Zarif, the Iranian foreign minister, made a point of not blaming the French because he still thinks that he can persuade them. Okay, I'm going to put this down now, because if not, I'll keep on looking. And Kerry left. So as far as I know, the news of the night in Geneva is done. All right. Now we can get to what's happened, not in the last 45 minutes. A lot is going on in this region. It's not easy for Israel being in this region. You don't have to squint if you're in the back. The yellow countries are the ones that don't like us. And there are different ways of looking at it. You can look at things from a very negative perspective, or you can look at things from a positive perspective. Thank you. Tonight we'll do both. But because most of us are Jews, we're going to start with the negative. First we kvetch, then we quell, right, Rabbi? And so we are terrified in Israel that the charm offensive has worked and that the world will let Iran get away with building a nuclear weapon. Iran is moving full speed ahead. We mentioned that the 20% hasn't advanced before the amount needed for one bomb, which was the red line that Netanyahu set by September. But that line has become irrelevant because the amount that they're enriching at 3% is already at 7 bombs, the LEU, and so now the time that it will take to go from the 3% to the 90% to the weapons grade is less than the time that last September it would take to go from 20 to 90, to connect with what Lev was saying before. And according to the think tank in Washington, the Institute for Science and International Security, ISIS, led by Professor Albright, go to their website frequently because they're monitoring Iran very closely, and everything that they write is fascinating. They say that Iran can already make a bomb in a month if they wanted to. And when he was asked about the potential deal that Iran was making the world, how it would change how fast Iran can make a bomb, he said 3 months. And that's not good enough. If it would take them 6 months, and is perpetually pushed off, that's something that the world would be fine with, because enough monitoring can be done, and as long as nothing's underground that they don't already know about, then that would be enough of a buffer. But 1 month is not enough, and 3 months is not enough.